My brain has one favorite time to remind me of every mistake I made that day, at 11 p.m., when the overthinking starts, right when I need it to stop. I tried journaling before bed, I tried meditating. I once spent 40 minutes spelling SLEEP in my head. That last one was my partner's idea.
Have you ever lain awake at night in your bed replaying a conversation you had from 3 days ago? Whether it be an argument with your manager, something you said in a meeting, or a mistake that felt okay during the day and justified, but somehow catastrophic at midnight? This video is for you.
The overthinking was affecting my sleep, which affected my focus the next day, which gave me more things to overthink the following night. A loop that feeds on itself. I tried journaling first, unloading my brain onto paper before sleep.
And you see this advice everywhere.
Do a brain dump, get it out of your head, and sleep like a baby.
Unfortunately, I underestimated how energetic and active my brain gets when the light goes out. I will write down in my journal everything I'll do the next day in neat bullet points, and as soon as I close my eyes, my brain somehow demands a full HD projection of what's going to happen the next day.
Getting dressed in the morning, drafting the email during the morning commute, exactly what I would say during the morning meeting. The journal didn't empty my mind. It just gave my mind a script to rehearse.
My partner is an extreme light sleeper. Very often he gets woken up by just me turning around or sneeze. His solution to me not being able to fall asleep is to think about sleep. Just breathe and think about sleep. Use it as a form of meditation. That's his solution.
I literally spell it out. SLEEP. SLEEP. For 40 minutes.
Then I thought reading would help. But because I am who I am, I didn't reach for any storybooks. I just reached for good old non-fiction self-help book. And that just made it worse. What all three had in common, and it took me a while to see this, is that I was still the main character.
The journaling was me scripting my own next scene. The meditation was me trying to manage my own brain in real time.
Inner peace. Dinner, please. Dinner with peas. Snow peas? In a sesame soy glaze.
And the self-help books were making me hyper-analyze my life as a project that needed fixing. We talk a lot in modern culture about being the protagonist of your own life. Take control, design your habits, optimize your routine. Waste no time.
Everyone tells you to document your life, be the main character of your life. But there is such thing as too much main charactering. Charactering? Especially at 11 p.m. Especially when the main character had already had a full day of being herself and just needs to resign from the job.
The solution wasn't something I went looking for. My partner is an avid reader. He reads fantasy, science fiction, all of it. Years ago, he got me a Kindle for my birthday and then a Kobo to replace it last year. The idea was simple: stop bringing the iPad to bed.
And of course, I loaded my Kindle and Kobo with non-fiction books. After high school, I don't read fiction very often. It just felt like a waste of time. There's always something more useful to read, like habits, psychology, personal finance, science. Something that would help me work towards a better me.
Which, looking back, was already a version of the same problem. Even my reading was a self-improvement project. The shift happened gradually. I had always liked Sherlock Holmes as a kid. Then Luca and I started doing Hitchcock movie nights, which led to murder mystery film. When we ran out of those, I picked up an Agatha Christie novel because I realized I actually enjoy the feeling of being an observer, watching someone else solve a problem. One book became a series. I joined the local library just to get more. And since then, I have only read fiction before bed, and I fall asleep easily now.
Here's what I think is actually going on. It's not that non-fiction books are obviously loud and super stimulating. Some of them are pretty dull, but it keeps our brain in analytical mode. So when I take in all this information, my brain immediately tries to apply it to myself, to my life, and to the ongoing project of being me.
James Clear tells you about habit stacking, and your brain is already redesigning your morning routine before you have finished a chapter. The book changes, the author changes, but the subject never does. It's always you. Marianne Wolf is a cognitive neuroscientist who has spent her career studying what happens to the brain when we read. And one thing she's very clear about: we were never born to read.
Surprise! There's no reading genes. There is no dedicated reading neurocircuit sitting there just waiting to be switched on. We adapt existing neurocircuits to reading, and we build this capacity over time. And what those circuits do depends on what we're reading. Nonfiction versus fiction.
So analytical texts like nonfiction, self-help books, or biography activates the part of our brain that are responsible for problem solving, goal orientation, and future planning. It demands active cognitive control. Fiction, on the other hand, shifts the balance towards something called the default mode network. The exact same network that fires when you are daydreaming, practicing empathy, or just processing the present moment without a specific task to complete.
To put it simply, one lets your brain stays in working mode. The other one allows your brain to drift. The famous Tim Ferriss has a line about this, and he's not somebody usually associated with wasting time.
Do not read nonfiction prior to bed, which encourages projection into the future and preoccupation in planning. Read fiction that engages the imagination and demands present state attention.
And Dr. Michael Bruce, a sleep specialist, puts it plainly. With nonfiction, the experience is reflective and alerting, using a lot of analytical brain power. With fiction, you don't have that. You're not being reflective. And that allows your brain to relax.
Non-fiction forces your brain to build strategies. Fiction forces it to build simulations. One keeps your engine running, the other lets it idle. When I'm reading Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot is the main character, not me. My brain is following his problem, not mine. It's not analyzing my life, it's not planning my tomorrow. It's been handed somewhere else entirely. I'm not the detective, and I'm just an observer standing in the corner of the room, watching him solve the mystery.
When I read fiction, whether it be murder mystery, fantasy involving dragons, or sci-fi, I stop being a never-ending project for one measly hour of the day.
It's like taking off my bra when I get home, or dropping a heavy backpack you didn't realize you've been carrying all day, and the brain finally gets to sit down. Sleep hygiene experts usually say to avoid thrillers or horror before bed, but my experience didn't match that. I've read Stephen King and dystopian fiction without a single nightmare.
I think in my experience, the cognitive mode matters more than the actual content, because when the story gets tense or scary, it's still just a simulation. It's still not about me.
Recently, a close friend of mine has been going through something I recognize. A brain that genuinely will not stop. I told her what I wish someone had told me. Give it a rest. Stop analyzing yourself, stop optimizing, and stop biohacking.
Look, I think there is a place and time for reading self-improvement books. I still read them very often, daily almost, but it just ends the moment I walk into the bedroom for bedtime. At some point in the day, we have to stop being the project in our own mind. For 1 hour before sleep, you can hand the main character role to someone else and just be an observer for a little while. Pick something you enjoy. Something easy to follow, but not so gripping that you're still reading at 3 a.m. It's meant for your mind to relax. And if you do get nightmare easily or you're skittish, maybe don't pick up a Stephen King book before bed.
I still dream. Some nights I remember them. When I do, it's never the murder mystery, it's never the dystopia. It's usually my mom, just spending time together. Doing nothing in particular seems completely ordinary. But remarkable nonetheless.
And honestly, for one part of the day, not being in control of what happens next is the whole point. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps you, and happy reading. I'll see you next time.